Hello and welcome. My name is Ajaxpost and I am absolutely delighted to be back here with another, what could be a long series of Computer Tycoon. Yes, we're back. This will be the 6th series, potentially, for this game. Why? Well, because I really enjoy playing it, and there's a lot to it, and the dev keeps on bringing out exciting new features. Well, they kind of have to be honest, because we're still in early access. According to Steam, it was released into early access in October, I think, 2017. So it's about 6 years. But then again, we are talking about a solo developer here, Andras, who's put heart and soul, blood, sweat and tears, I imagine, into this game so far. When you're creating a game as complex and as intricate as this, it's a grand strategy computer tycoon game. Well, the title gives it away rather, doesn't it? Yeah, but there's so much to do. And we are looking... The lights are suggesting we could get final full release this year, 2024. So in preparation for that, the last big feature set update to the game was added in towards the end of last year, and Andras, the developer, released a closed beta test on his Discord server for the number of us who played the game sort of ongoing, as it were, to have a play with and try and test out any bugs and see if the general ideas worked. And the response was very positive. Just after New Year, we saw a public release of a test build of this version. So, caveat, this is very much a test build, so it may go wrong. There may be things in it which aren't quite working how they should. There are some things that might be taken out, there'll be bugs, there'll be other things going on. So it's not going to be perfect just yet, but there's a lot to it which is really exciting and fun to play. As you can see here from the roadmap, all sorts of things going on, but the main thing that's changed is here in version 0.9.9 we have CEO negotiations and CEO stuff. Basically, we can now communicate directly with and arrange, well, arrangements with our opposing AI CEOs. So it's not just us playing against a blank board, a slate of people doing things in the background. We can now see their faces and talk to them directly. So let's crack on into it, shall we? We're going to start a brand new game. Let's get that out of the way at the moment. I'm afraid, going to turn off the soundtrack to the game once we get into it now, because as part of the new CEO negotiations screens, we've got some new licensed music been added to the game. Obviously, Gregorian, Andras, the developer, has got full licensing rights to that. He wouldn't do it otherwise. But that license, unfortunately, doesn't extend to us content creators. So if I want to monetize this video, which, being selfish, I'm afraid I will, I do have to cut that out, and the simplest thing for me to do is to mute the music. It's unfortunate because the main soundtrack for the game I actually really quite like, but you've heard it before. If you go back to my previous series, you can hear it all there, or you could indeed purchase the game yourself and then you can hear it to your heart's content. Anyway, waffle over, let's get into creating a brand new game. Now, so far, in my previous series, I've always worked with the historical map, which is basically a fairly authentic map of the world starting in 1974 with appropriate wealth of nations, appropriate populations, but most importantly, appropriate borders and political economic systems. So, for example, you can't start a computer tycoon company in Soviet Russia, or the Soviet Union as it was called properly at the time, I suppose, or anywhere else in Eastern Europe or certain other countries which were closed to the capitalist enterprise. But over time, as you go through playing the game, those countries will change and evolve. New countries will emerge out of, for example, Yugoslavia. The Soviet Union will break up. It will allow capitalists into the country and you can start trading with them. So that's a really fun, authentic, historical map to play. I think I've always played that in my previous series, so what I'm going to do today is to kind of challenge myself, is go into the unknown. I'm going to play with a randomised map. The borders of the countries in the map aren't going to change as far as I'm aware, but the politics and so on I think does. So we're going to play with a randomised map. The simplified map, if you don't like sort of faffing around with too many countries to market into and so on to sell your computers or whatever, then you can play the simplified map To be honest, it's a mode that I've not really got my head around. It's not something I particularly enjoyed playing, but the big historical maps, or indeed the randomised, are quite fun. So that's what we're going to start with here, randomised. The first thing I need to do is set up my CEO. Who am I? I'm going to be playing, in fact, if I select a new avatar here, we've got, I think, these are all the avatars we can choose. These two ladies at the end are new to this, or a recent version. Up until quite recently, up until last year, I think this lady here was the only female avatar you could choose. I'm not quite sure at which build. I haven't been following too closely over the last year, the development of the game, but these two have been recently added. So I'm going to play one of these ladies, I think. Yeah. Let's hear it for the women. So I'm gonna call myself Adrienne Ajax. Yes, it's a name. Okay, and we're going to be called AA Tech. Absolutely. Now, this is a grand strategy game, and if you go to the Discord server, and I do recommend you do, because there's lots of really involved players there who are really keen to help, offer suggestions and hints and tips, and even tricks and little bits of cheats, if you will, to win at this game. So if you want to play this game just to beat it, to win it, to get at the most difficult level, to beat it and make the most money in the shortest time, then there are lots of tips and tricks and advice to find on the Discord server. Or you could play it as I tend to do, more as a role play kind of game, where I'm just sort of making decisions in a more methodical, slower way, to be honest, as I would in a general sort of strategy game, and just play it to sort of enjoy the experience in the long term. But you can play this game any way you like, really, and there's various different avenues to success. So if you're a fast, I need all the achievements. I don't think there are any achievements in the game, to be honest. But if I want all the objectives met as quickly as possible, you can do that. You just need to learn the certain tips and tricks of how to do that. We can play this either as a research-oriented company, or a company that focuses on production or logistics, which is being able to sell more computers across the globe more efficiently. You can choose any of these, I think, really, but most people tend to choose research or production because you do need to keep ahead of the competition, mostly in terms of how much you produce, but also, in a sense, how far ahead you are in technology terms. Logistics is also good if you want to get into more countries more quickly, but to do that you will actually need to have quite a big production base, and we'll see ways as we get into this game in a moment, ways of achieving that. I'm going to go, I think, with research, which is what I tend to do. So that's our basic sort of bonus within the game. I am of course going to choose Ajax Orange. And do we want all these people here as my competition? We will. Our victory goals: Monopoly, the last company standing will beat them all. Singularity, if you can last out the game till you've researched all the technology in the game, and there is a very large research technology tree, then yeah, you can achieve singularity, which basically means ascending to sort of almost godhood, I suppose, if you believe in that. Or survival time is, can you get through the game and last 60 years? To be honest, that's quite difficult, I think, because you either lose quite quickly or you can win in quite good time, either very quickly if you try the cheaty tricks, if you will, or certainly within 60 years you can beat the game if you're playing fairly sort of intelligently, if you will. Difficulty, the latest update has included a couple more harder difficulties. They do give the AI slightly more advantages and make it more difficult for you to win. I don't like playing where I'm going to be losing in the first 2 years or so, so I'm not going to go for those because I'm not an expert at the game, unlike some of those guys on the Discord server. I'm just going to go hard. So I'm going to go fairly difficult, but not... It's going to be fairly challenging, but it's not going to be impossible for me to win the game. I think we can leave all these opponents as is. Yeah, again, if you can click on them and you can change the avatar if you wish to somebody else. Actually, let's have another lady. Let's have you. There you go. Annabelle Luenbach in Iceberg Investments. Indeed. A very chilly opponent. So, let's start this game. Right, we're in. We're in 1972, which is basically when you and your buddy who is sat there in this garage alongside you, decide to start building computers, home computers. And you create your very first one, and that's what the tutorial is there for. It takes you through the basic mechanics of the game, creating your first computer and selling it to somewhere around the world. We're not going to do that here because I reasonably well know how the game works. Let's be honest. So we're going to skip the tutorial, but if you're brand new to the game, I do recommend you follow it because it does give you an insight into how the sort of key mechanics of the game work. But be careful to follow it quite carefully. Going too much off-piste, as it were, will get you lost. We're going to skip that though for this game. Alright, so I've turned off the music and we're in our garage. We are Adrienne Ajax. And the game is paused at the beginning of 1972. And the first thing we need to do here is choose our skill set. For that we simply roll the dice here and get a set of skills which will be useful to us. Again, depending on how you play this, and there are again a number of techniques and ways of winning the game, most people will either go for research or manufacturing, although to be honest, particularly if you're playing the historical game, accounting can be a really good skill as well, but possibly not for you as a CEO. So accounting might be a good skill for your first manager, your first assistant, your buddy as it were in the garage here. And we can roll these as much as we like. Again, there's discussion on the forums about whether we should be able to pick these more directly, like some games allow you to do. I think Crusader Kings and Stellaris, and there's probably others as well, where you pick your skill set. But for the moment, we simply roll this until we get some numbers we like. Notice espionage. We may or may not do that at some point. Manufacturing, that is a good one, but I think I want more research, but I also want charisma, because charisma allows me to hire new managers more successfully. Now this is reasonable selection. It's not the one I'm going to finish with, but it gives me a high charisma, and a lot of the options on the game do have hover over tooltips, so you can see what's going on here, and this explains to you what charisma does, what the research does, manufacturing and so on. So that's good. So charisma would give me a really good chance of getting new managers into the game. I will need another manager or two at the early stage of the game, so high charisma is good for that, but it's not what I'm after here. Okay, this set isn't perfect, but I'm going to go with it, I think. So we're going to get 40 points for research, which means we can do research faster, and also manufacturing. 40% is quite a good skill, quite a good level, but I think charisma is also good here. So I'm going to go with that set of skills for Adrienne, my buddy in the garage. And it would be nice if you were good at manufacturing or marketing, I think. So again, we just scroll through these assistants, our friends. Some interesting characters here to see. Edward Evans, you're good. Now the thing is here, you do kind of match my skills, which is reasonably good in a sense, because it means that I can go off doing other things while you take care of research and manufacturing in the meantime. Another good thing for your friend, and in fact any other managers you've got, is a high loyalty score. With a high loyalty, they are not going to demand such high salaries, because salaries will increase every year, so your cost base will go up as you go through. But a higher loyalty means that increase will be smaller, so that's quite a good skill set. Now, I think, yeah, we're going to stick with Edward Evans. Can I change his name? No, that's as good a name as any, I think. So we're going to say, yep, you're done. Right. Oh, we've changed desks, and my desk has got a lot bigger, which is cool. Right. We need now building our first computer, I think. That's what we'll do first. Now, we've got nothing at the moment, and this is what the tutorial does. It takes you through creating the hardware. So, in fact, if we go into the computer option down here, we're going to create a brand new computer here. It's going to be a home computer. We will eventually evolve into personal computers, PCs, to laptops, portable devices, and also tablets, I think is the last one. I yeah, I've never actually got that far in the game. I've always won or lost by the time I've got to laptops, or portables as they call them in the game. So we're going to start with the home computer. The red boxes here indicate the hardware components you need to make this type of computer. The grey boxes are generally optional, but you see a couple of them here, removable and video card GPU, are red, which means that technology does not exist at the moment at all. So you can't create those components. So what we're going to do, we're going to create the hardware to go into our machine. So we're going to create a new piece of hardware. I'm going to use dip memory and heat sinks, and this technology will evolve over time. And I'm going to call it AAMEM74. I'm going to try and remember that I've got a naming system for all my bits of kit and the computers I put them into. And what we can do here is we can define how good or bad any piece of equipment is. The thing to be aware of here is we might like a really fast memory with a high capacity for processing, but that will cost us. So if we look down here, cost is measured in two things. PP is kind of your absolute production point cost. And the higher that is, the more factory capacity it will take. And the more factory capacity it takes, the more it will cost in dollars. Now you can make your factories more efficient, in which case the cost of producing any particular production point will be less. But in the early days, your factories will be quite inefficient. So the pound cost, so the dollar cost, will be that bit more. So do be aware of that. It says 0 here, but once I've built a factory, it will be able to work out how much it costs to build this amount of production points or power. It calls them points, but I will tend to call them power as well, because yeah, I'm like that. But as you can see here, increasing the base clock or the capacity or any of the attributes of your hardware will significantly increase the production cost. It's not a linear progression either. Now some people decide to go best of everything, because the AI will generally tend not to do that for everything. So you'll be the top dog in terms of quality and performance and all the rest of it. So customers who can afford your equipment will tend to purchase it, is the idea. Or you could go cheap and cheerful and just really shift lots and lots of really cheap units and make your profit that way. Again, it's up to you which strategy you prefer to use. Most people, I think, tend to go with lower quality to start with until they work out what your opponents are doing and what your customers demand. So what people on the map want from your computers. Do they want performance? Do they want speed? Do they want ease of use? Do they want a general feature set like accessories and so on? What do they want? And you can then build your equipment to match your customer demand. I'm going to put some capacity on here. So we're going to make that, say, up to 90 production points, thereabouts. You can type in the numbers here if you wish, or use the sliders, whichever you prefer. I will generally do a mix of both. We'll leave the base clock as that. So we'll create that. We'll add that to the computer. There we are. And we're going to do the same thing for CPU. We're going to create a new CPU. It's a 4040 with a heatsink, and it's going to be called CPU 74. AA, of course, because that's me. Base clock. Do I want to increase that at all? Oh, we'll take it up a little bit. Because I just like tinkering, tweaking things. Can I take that down a little bit? I'm using the left and right arrows here, which sort of goes in increments, certain jumps. Well, let's make that just 240.00 kilohertz. There you go. That's nearly 90. So that does that, and we will add you to the computer either by clicking that button or double clicking here. Either way will work. Now the power supply, we're going to need to supply power to it. We're going to create a new power supply. The AC converter with a heatsink. We'll call it power. There you go. 74. Quality. Yeah, whatever. We'll create you, add you to the computer, and we need some storage. That's going to be Winchester Technology. I'm going to call it hard disk 74. And the capacity on this, we ought to have some capacity on our storage. And it costs 200 production points at the moment. If we can go up to 1 megabyte. Those were the days, a whole megabyte of disk storage. Wow. We're going to just go up to around, let's make it a round number, which the sliders and my mouse control don't really allow me to do. So that's it. Quality performance, that'll be fine. Let's create that. We'll add that to the computer. We'll need a motherboard to do all the motherboarding stuff. This is one based on a DIN connector. A feature set, we'll add a couple of features to it. Yeah, won't make it too expensive, because all these costs will aggregate into the total cost of your computer at the end of the day. That'll do. Add to the computer. We don't need a display, but I'm going to put one on anyway. And that's going to be blinking lights. Yay! Proper computers. None of this, VDU thing. Now you can reduce this to make it a lot cheaper, but I'm just going to add a little bit of a feature set to it. Add you to the computer, and finally an operating system. We're going to create a new one. It's going to simply be an operating system. Again, I cannot go features, I think. So if I just put 1% features, no, I can afford more than that, I think. 5? Yes. So that gives me a 105 feature set there. And you can see here all the points that are accumulating for each piece of hardware and the attributes you add to it. And they all combine into these boxes here: features, capacity, prestige, ease of use, quality and performance. Attributes which will attract different types of customers at the end of the day. So we're going to call this AAHC1. We can get that away. So that's the upfront cost. That is what has cost me to design these hardware components. At this point there are no accessories. We're going to have to research those. And as I said, removable media, GPU, that doesn't exist at the moment. The pricing, the game defaults to quite a high price of $8,000, but you will discount that according to the wealth of your customers, which is sensible economics, so that's good. But obviously people who are filthy rich can afford to pay the most amount. Now these figures will adjust. Once our factories are installed and built and producing this, we will know how much each computer costs as a whole unit, and it can then work out our profit for each wealth level of our customers. And obviously you want to make sure that wherever you sell your computer, you're making at least some profit. It is possible, if you're selling a cheap computer and you're giving it a heavy discount, you'll actually be losing money on each unit. You do not want to do that. So we're going to leave it like that for the moment. That's a good starting point. These indicators here tell you, out of all your competitors, who has the best value for this particular computer attribute. So in terms of performance, nobody else has done anything yet, so I've got the highest performance value. But as they come on board and start releasing their computers, this list will change, and you'll see that certain computer companies, certain AI bosses will focus on certain attributes and beat you in those areas. So it's a matter of balancing that out. Marketing. Now I've been adding features to my computer. I don't know what my opponents are doing, so I'm going to say that marketing features is important to me. In addition to little tool tips, there are often lots of text tips here, help screens for the major dialog boxes, which tell you what it does. That unfortunately is a large screen of text, a wall of text if you will, so I'm not going to worry about that. Marketing costs. It can cost a lot, so you can decide here to either go with a small campaign and hope that your pricing is right for the quality of your computer, or just go big to start with and just say, I'm the biggest deal in town, and just spend a lot of money on marketing and get that first revenue stream coming in. So a lot of people do that. So I'm going to try that strategy. I don't often do that, but I'm going to try it, and we'll see what the problems might be with that as we get into releasing our computer. And talking of release, the next tab here is release. You can set your machine, or you can send your machine to your labs, your quality assurance people, and say, give this one a real workout, make sure it works perfectly, and try and tweak anything that can be tweaked to make it even better. So you can give it 30 days in the Q&A testing process, and depending on what type of computer it is, home computer, personal computer, laptop and so on, you may see increases in some of these attributes of your computer. So that can be really good. So I'm going to start testing that.
Your new computer model went into the testing phase.
I love the voiceovers. I like that. We'll come back to that in a moment. The game is currently on pause still because we've actually done nothing. So reviews, we'll come back to that. Customers, we don't have anybody yet. Alternatives, that's a new tab that's been added since my last series. We'll come back to that in good time. The next thing I think we want to do is set up our sites. We need to have a production site and a laboratory site where we do our research. And the thing with the game is that your sites will have different wealth levels. So this is a randomized map. So I don't know. Now, the United States of America is usually a very rich country, which has high taxation, a bit like sort of Western Europe. Whereas Africa tends to be poor or poverty level wealth, with some lower taxes, some really low taxes, some higher taxes, and so on. And we'll try and discuss taxes as we go through. So what I'm going to try and do is find 2 countries to build my initial sites in. When it comes to your factory, your manufacturing unit, the best countries to go into are poor countries, really poor countries. So you can pay lower wages. That's what the capitalist system is all about. Finding the poorest people you can exploit, giving them pittance in wages and making lots of profit off their backs. That's how it works. Now, in an historical map, you roughly know where they are, but this is random, so I don't. India. Oh, that's a poverty country. If I click on that there, you can see here, it tells me in this panel here, which I can I drag that around? I can drag it around, which is nice. The wealth is poverty, quite a big population, 38, nearly 39 million. Taxes are quite high. The reseller cut is how much the resellers of your computers, the shop windows, the Currys, the PC Worlds, the Walmarts or whatever, selling your computers will take off your bottom line. So you want to keep both of these as low as you can. That's quite high, but it's not extortionate. Besides which, we're not actually necessarily marketing to India because it's poor. They won't give us much profit. But if we go to India, I can build a site here. It'll cost me $1 million, and it'll cost me 50,000 per month in maintenance. And here we are. Now, in a poverty country, get my teeth in, we're first off going to want to build a factory. And as you can see here, because it's a very poor country, I'm getting a minus 50% on the daily cost of a factory. So we're going to build our factory, our level 1 factory, and that will produce 1,000 production points per day. It's going to cost that amount per day, and that is how the game can work out how much your hardware components and your computer as a whole will cost. So we're going to build that. We're also going to build an office, because what an office does is it gives you a 10% discount on daily costs, I think. Again, it's so long, it's been months since I actually last played this properly. Oh, it actually tells me there, 10% decrease on site costs. So I think it's general site costs, which is always good. So if you can keep your costs down, that's always good. And 10,000 or say 1,000 a day is a pittance. We're also going to want to build a logistics department, because we're going to need logistics points to sell into countries. We can only sell where we have, as it were, a logistics network in which to sell into those countries. So we're going to need these points to actually do that. So we're going to build one of you. That is you. And we'll come back to marketing in a minute. But what I want to do next is add another country for our research lab. And what I'm going to do is, rather than run around the map here, in a historical map we could probably know where we're going, because we know where the rich countries are. But here I don't. So what I'm going to do is go into this market list here, which lists all the countries in the world. Yay! Now, we're not going to be allowed to go into a closed market, so I'm going to untick that. And I'm also going to untick everything apart from filthy rich countries. Now, the benefit of going into a filthy rich country, or a market, I should call them markets, because they're not necessarily always countries. It's a concept, is the market. Going into a filthy rich market for one of your sites gives you a discount, like the poverty country did on my factory, A filthy rich gives you a discount on the lab, on the research centre. So we're going to do that, and it looks like they're not. The trouble is, these filthy rich countries tend not to be very populated, and it looks like I've drawn a short straw here because my filthy rich countries, they're not very big. Yeah, but I think we'll go to Ecuador, shall we? You're filthy rich. Notice there the tax is less than it was in India, though the reseller cut appears to be about the same or similar. Some of these, like the Philippines, actually the Philippines is good. Well, let's go to the Philippines. That's a very low tax and very low reseller cut. And we're going to build a site here. Yes, that's going to cost me more. Each site you add to your portfolio of sites will cost you more. And we started off, I think, with 30 million or something. Possibly 35 million. I wasn't actually paying attention, was I? Oops. And what we're going to do here, we're going to build a lab. Now, because I've got the 20% starting bonus when I started this game, I'm getting that here, so minus 20% for the maintenance cost. And also, because it's filthy rich, my scientists are cheaper in a filthy rich country, so that is good. Going to build that. Whereas if I ask to build a factory here, filthy rich countries, they expect a proper wage. They expect to be able to live off what they earn doing your stuff. So they cost more. So try not to build factories in really rich countries. They will cost you a lot. Unless you've got a lot of profit coming in later in the game, try not to do that. But again, we like to reduce general overall costs. We'll build a office here and also a logistics site. And that will give us a logistics point or so. So that's going to start building, but I've still not unpaused the game. We will do it shortly before I finish this episode honest. What we're going to do is go into the research tree here. The manager I have with the most research capability, the most research points on those skill sets we saw at the very beginning, will pop up here offering us some basic advice. Apparently I'm a genius. I won't refute that. No, it's not true, but I won't tell him that. In my opinion, we should time after time check what is cheapest and or focus on a given area like manufacturing to make production cheaper for circuits or features. So the thing here, this is the research tree. Bit of a beast. And what you might prefer to do, which is what I generally do, is open the queue. Because what I can do here is I can sort all this research tree by a certain order. Either by things that give me the most features, or the least. So glass teletype gives me the most feature bonus of all the technology here that I haven't researched yet. In terms of performance, the best bet would be, it's a very small thing to click on, would be SCSI. I pronounce it SCSI. If you pronounce it SCUSI, you're wrong. Simple. End of conversation. Sorry. So I could do that if I'm looking for a particular bonus to add to my computer. I can sort it by that order. What I tend to do, though, generally, is to order it in terms of how long it will take me to research. So the cheapest thing to research here is the printer, followed by the S-bus, the keyboard, and so on. So I will tend to focus on those things for researching. So I'll click a few of those. Now, some things like VLSI will actually save me money. So if we go here, so if I look for VLSI in here, which is in manufacturing, here it is. So if I go for VLSI, what that does is it reduces the cost of production, basically. So because it allows us to combine a great deal more transistors into the same sized wafer, the chip, I suppose. We don't get any attribute benefits to our computer, but it will cost us less to make it if we use VLSI. The same with the 10 micron, I think that is, 6 and 3 and so on. So they are all good technologies to use to reduce your cost of manufacture. If we've set our research queue here, and I've not explained that terribly efficiently, I think, but we'll get the idea as we go through, I hope. Let's go back to our office. Our managers, me and my buddy, have skills. We need to put those skills to use. Now, what skills do I have? I have good charisma, research and manufacturing. But my charisma skill is best, certainly better than my buddy Edward's. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to set myself a task of finding a third manager. Now, if we look up here at the top, this current home office setup here will allow me to squeeze 4 managers into this building. So I can find another 2 managers, hopefully to reduce costs of other things that I want to do. So what I'm going to actually ask this myself to do, I'm going to be hunting for another manager. Because I've got a skill level of 50, this will take just 150 days. So these skill levels will determine how long a particular task will take. So I'm going to do that. Whereas my buddy Edward here, who is a hotshot researcher, I'm going to set you a passive task of researching. And I'm going to place you, can I get you out of the way? There you are, in my research country, which is where my research lab is going to be. And that is going to be in the Philippines. Yeah, it's currently building. It's not built yet, but I'm going to place you there. So I'm going to delegate you to work there. What that means is I get an immediate bonus, a 28% bonus to my research here. I get more research out of that office than I would do normally. Do you know what I think? I think we should start the game. So let's crack on and get this done. And we'll go back to the world map here. Now, I am losing money because I'm just building at the moment and paying daily costs for all my people and so on. Now what I'm going to do here is a little trick we earned. Now we haven't decided yet where I'm selling my computers, though somebody has. Who is that? If I go in there, that will tell me. If I go here, the purple country, Iceberg Investments, it's whatever her name was. If I go here, I can see who that is. That is Dominancy. So that is Annabelle Leuenberg. Looks like it is first off the mark. They've identified France as a country to sell into. But perhaps seeing as they've done that, we should do that too. So although my buildings aren't built yet, my machine hasn't been fully tested yet, let's decide where we're going to sell our computers. So in fact, let's go back to this market list here. And what we're going to do is search for filthy rich and rich countries. We're going to order them in terms of population. Now Russia here is huge, okay, as is New Zealand and France. Obviously that is why Iceberg went in there, because it's a really big market. Ideally you want filthy rich, because as we saw earlier on our computer, our pricing of it means we charge filthy rich people $8,000 for it, whereas just ordinary rich people get a big discount on it. So ideally we want to sell to as many rich and filthy rich people as we can. So let's go back to that market list, and the temptation is to go to really big countries, but there's a risk in that because the size of the country affects how much it costs you to market your computer. And if it's a huge market, the marketing costs, the advertising costs will also be huge, and you may not make enough money on your first computers to cover that. So it may not be a very profitable way to do it. But I think we can certainly afford to go into, I think we should go into France. I think we should compete with them. Let's do that. We're going to go into logistics here, and I could either use my slider to put points in here. Now logistics points, remember we are building a logistics office in both our sites, which will give us these points. The more logistics points we put into a country, the more we reduce the reseller cut. So we actually get more profit out of selling each of our computers. But I've only got a limited number of logistics points. I think I'll end up with 2. So I'm just going to put 1 into each of my countries that I'm selling into, and I can do that simply by pressing A to set 1 LP and close. So that's that done. And I think we will also, we're going to go into New Zealand, and you'll see what I mean about marketing costs. So we'll go into New Zealand. Although the taxes are quite high, we'll put a point in there. The other thing to notice here, you can see here what the people in this country are particularly focused on buying. So in New Zealand, they are most interested in performance and also features, whereas in France they're mostly interested in ease of use, but also capacity. So this is where you tweak your computer to match the demands of your customers. Now that can be ignored if you're playing just to beat the game as fast as you can. That may not be a big deal because you're just sort of dumping as much as you can into the game and pumping into research, pumping into manufacturing, and just selling everyone as cheaply as you can, or as cost effectively as you can, more accurately, and beat it that way. But if you're playing a longer sort of role-playing version of the game, as it were, if that's how your style goes, then you can play it like this and really tweak and twist to beat your competitors, not just on marketing power and advertising alone, but on the type of computers you're selling. We'll get into that as we go through this play. I think, another site. I'm going to need a bigger factory to sell all those computers. So what I'm looking for is another really poor country. The size of it isn't terribly important for the site, though actually China looks good here. It's obviously not a communist country at this point in this randomised map, but it is poverty stricken, and the taxes and cut and reseller cut is okay-ish. So we're going to build a site here. This will cost us more. Yeah, 1.7 million. Let's go there. And in this site, again, we're going to build a factory. We're going to build an office. We're going to build another logistics department. But also, we're going to build a marketing office, because the marketing office gives us a discount on the total marketing costs. Now, because we're selling to a fairly big country, then we're going to need to cut the advertising cost as best we can, and the marketing departments really help with that. Not in turn, 1% isn't much, but that adds up. 3 of these in each of our sites, so that's 3 times 1%, 3%. That's not a bad discount to start with, and we can upgrade them to get bigger discounts. So we're going to do that, and also in the Philippines, marketing there, that is the job done. Now we're running out of LP because I've asked it to sell in 2 countries, and I don't have the logistics offices yet. They've not been built, so I don't have those points. So no, if we actually can, I'll get rid of that. Go away. Let's view the whole thing. So these are the buildings, and they are slowly growing out of the ground like that. I'll just pause that again because there's something else I want to do before we get the game carried on running. Let's find another country to sell into. So let's do that. Looking for filthy rich and rich again. Actually, we're not selling into any filthy rich countries yet, so we might as well do that. And the biggest of those is Turkey. It is open to us, although Turkey in this randomized game is communist. The symbol there. Okay, let's sell to Turkey. They're filthy rich, so we should make good money off them. Put 1 point in there. And one thing to notice here is we're getting costs. What is this? This is the cost of profit per 1 million people. We want to keep an eye on that, I think, at some point. And what I'm doing next is keeping an eye on my computer, which is currently 7 days into testing. And what I'm going to do, it's a trick I learned by watching a video from one of the stalwarts of the Computer Tycoon Discord server, the Epic MMX, who's got a channel which doesn't have anything on it as yet in terms of Computer Tycoon, but that's where he's promised to put his Computer Tycoon videos. CT Pro Plays, I think, is his channel name. I'll link it in the description as well, perhaps. One of the tricks I learned from him was if you release your first computer early, you beat the AI because they tend to wait.
Your building upgrade has completed.
Excellent, I've got all my buildings ready. If you beat it early, because the computer AI companies tend to wait 30 days, which you can do to get the best tweaking of your PC or home computer. I'm going to get it out early. It won't be as best quality, but I'm going to get money for it, which is the important thing at this stage. And as you can see here, for a home computer, I'm actually getting bonuses on everything, apart from capacity. So the more time it spends in testing, the more tweaking my QA guys, my guys in the white coats can do to improve performance in all these features. I'm going to market that. Excellent. Run on a day or 2. There you go. If we go into marketing, we can see what's happening here. My base price for marketing is nearly $1.8 million. My marketing buildings haven't opened up yet, so I'm getting no discount. And that 1.8 million is based on the total number of customers, potential customers, in the 3 countries that I'm selling into. So if you go for really big countries, then your marketing costs are going to be, well, enormous, which is why you need the marketing buildings to help bring that down. So that will decrease by 3% once my marketing buildings have finished building. Now, I've only got one factory open at the moment, which you can see at the top here, producing that 1000 pp. But my computer, being the first to the market, is so popular the demand is 1.6, nearly 1.7 million production points, the DPP. So I simply am not keeping up with demand, which is why you want more manufacturing sites or bigger factories quite early in the game. So what we're going to do here in, where are we? We need to be in India, don't we? Into India. I'm going to boost my factory. Can I boost my factory? It's going to cost me a fair amount, 389 per day. But it's going to boost my production by 500,000 or up to 500,000. Oh, I notice here, in addition to the discount I get on the construction, the daily costs by being in a very poor country, I also get minus 10%. I get a discount because I've got an office. So if I build a better quality office, well, they'll cost me £5 a day. I will get a 20% discount on all the costs on the site. That's a definite bonus. That is a good thing to have. The marketing building is nearly ready, but I'm going to increase this factory to level 2. You can keep an eye on your sites here. You can see what's going on. Oh, I need to press that's it to get the game running. I'm getting all these bouncing bubbles here at the top. We'll come back to the site page in a moment. So my PP, my production capacity, is nowhere near enough to meet demand. I don't have enough logistics points because I've only got 2 offices built so far, and I'm selling into 3 countries. I've got 1 unprofitable computer. Why is it unprofitable? We'll look at that in a moment. I'm not profitable. Yeah, the red negative number here is scary. Let's go to our computer here. So we can see here we have sold 198. My pricing here. Oh, now here you see the profit I get even in really poor countries, because my computer is actually quite cheap to build. Average cost 430, which if I sell it for £2,000 in a really poor country still gives me a profit, but my best profit is in these really rich countries. So that's good. That is really good. Now what I'm hoping is if I let this play on for a little bit longer, my losses will decrease. They're not. They're increasing, which is not a good sign. I'm really losing a lot of money here. This is bad.
Your building upgrade has completed.
I can sell more computers now. My losses are slightly decreasing. I think I need to upgrade my other factory as well, which is in China. So let's upgrade this factory as well. We'll build you. I mean, it adds to my costs, but I mean, if we can't sell computers, then yeah, we're dead in the water, as it were. I'm losing less money, which is good, but I want another factory, I think. So what we're going to do here is build another site. This is a high-risk strategy. I don't want that. I want this button here. So I'm going to want another really poor country. We can go into, we're in China already. Actually, we could go to India, couldn't we? No, we are in India already, you fool. Or Norway. Go Norway. Why not? It's somewhere in Europe anyway. So we're going to build. Can I afford to build a site here? Just about. 2 million. Okay. Can I build a factory here? Just about. Can I build an office? Just about. Build another logistics centre? Just about. And marketing? Yeah, we'll do that. And I am going to be bankrupt very soon at this rate.
Your building upgrade has completed.
Right, I have a negative bank balance, so I need to get back to positive bank balance within a year or I will be bankrupt. Now, what I've seen one of the sort of fast pro players do is get a loan, a big loan, at this stage of the game, which allows them to really
Your
expand and
building
kind of
upgrade
beat,
has completed.
thank you, beat the game by being really aggressive at that strategy. And you can get loans by going to, and I've already forgotten where it is, I think it is on, that's a good question, where is it? I think it's on the stats page here. Budget, there it is.
Your building upgrade has completed.
Let's pause the game for a second. We can go here into cash flow and we can get loans here. And if you get a really big loan for a really long period, it does cost you a fair amount of money to repay it per month. If you stretch that period over 10 years, that's more or less doable. But I mean, that is 166, 100, let's say 170,000 per month. I've just made over $1 million in profit. See? Having that extra capacity in my factory has allowed me to sell more computers to those lovely rich people and make loads and loads of money. So I could accept that and really expand. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that, definitely. Okay. I can repay it by getting another loan. I'm not going to do that. Or I could increase it, take out even more money. But yes, so we can do that. So what I want is another site, because I want to get involved in research. I want to really bump up my research. Now if we come here, we can see that we've nearly researched the printer, the green bar at the top there. And if we go into the queue, we can see that things cost less to research now, because I've got a research manager who's giving me 1.3 research points at the top there, as you can see. Now if I get another research site, that'll give me another whole research point, or there's another way of doing it. And it's at this point we get into, I don't want to do that, I want to go back to, let's go back to the world. I currently have 32.5% of the global computer market. Am my competition actually doing anything yet? I'm in February already. So yeah, 30 days have passed, so they will be selling computers. We'll look at that in a second. What was I looking for? This is a brand new button on the game. The CE negotiation. So this is my office. And I can now negotiate with my opposition. We can see here who they are, and also if they're ahead of me in any technology. At the moment we're all equal. Yeah, we've got +0 techs here, so they're not ahead of me in any technology. We can also see how many fans they've got compared to me. I believe that's what that's telling me here. So I've got the most fans. Fans are ardent. It's like Apple boys, isn't it, or whatever they call them. They won't buy anything apart from Apple, and whatever Apple produce, they'll buy it. It makes sense, yeah, I know. But before I go into that, let's look at my stats here, my dominancy. Ooh, I may be selling 32.5%, but I'm not the biggest player on the market. Mr. Big is. Now what I can do here is I can compete directly with him, or go into arrangements with my competition. Actually, let's try that with Iceberg, shall we? I'm not sure I trust her, because she's sort of competing with me in some of my home markets. But if I negotiate with Annabelle, now each of these AI bosses has their own theme tune and their own office. So hello, I'm all ears. When is it about business? So I'm all ears when it is about business. Profit is everything, isn't it? Oh, she is kind of aggressive, isn't she? Smiles, but I bet there's, ooh, yeah, there's iron behind that smile. Nice to meet you. Hi. Time to make money. And what we can do here, we can trade. So we can trade technologies or money. We can gift them things. We can demand things off them if we think they've got something I want and I can exploit them. I can do that. I can be friends with them. I can declare a rivalry. And let's offer a research agreement. Now here we can see there's a 10% chance of them accepting a research agreement, which will give me an extra research point and also them. She's quite a wily character, I think, but I'm going to try it anyway. Now here's a chance of them being really annoyed and being less agreeable to doing business with me in the future, or being, oh, why are you bothering me? and making no real change to our relationship. So let's offer that research contract. Oh, they don't want to do it. Okay, but that's not changed everything. I can offer it again. These numbers haven't changed. Let's try again. Oh dear. Right, no, they weren't happy with that, so they're now cold. Yeah, they didn't like me demanding again. Okay, let's try somebody else. Let's try Mr. Green. He's the best around. Yeah, whatever. What's new? Let's negotiate with you. A research agreement. I think they all start off at 10%, but some of them are more agreeable than others. No. Can I try again? No, he's still not playing ball. If I try a third time. No, he's really annoyed with me now for being so insistent. Okay, one last time. I think I got an agreement with Axel here of Data Systems when I played it before. Again, just love these backgrounds. He's hearing voices. Okay, hopefully he'll be attuned to my voice. Research agreement. What were you talking about? Okay, we'll try again. No. Oh, well, we'll have to try that later, I think. Let's have a check of our computer. And it is, looking here, all you can see, ooh, in terms of the attributes of my computer, I'm missing out to Will. Maybe that's why he doesn't want a research agreement with me. But I am best at features and ease of use. So that's the sort of thing I could focus on in marketing, perhaps. And I've now got 4 marketing buildings, so my actual daily cost is reduced by 72,000, which is nice. And the customers, people are buying it. Yeah, I've sold quite a few. This is a new tab, which is also quite handy. It tells me who my competitors are, my closest competitors for this computer. And here you can see, actually this is interesting, they don't beat me in terms of, actually no, they do beat me in terms of performance. Yeah, but in terms of quality, they're not so good. And you can see here the price matrix. Oh, that's interesting here. Both the alternatives shown here sell it quite expensively. They don't discount so much in the poorer countries. That's interesting. They are generally cheaper than me, but then cheap computers is a habit of leading to bankruptcy. So we don't want that. Right, we're off. We're away. We have got 3 countries we're selling into successfully. We're about to research printers. I'm going to open another research lab in another filthy rich country. I'll have that ready for you when you come back. And we are currently, AA Tech is second to Big's Computers by a modest margin, but we're way ahead, both of us, of the competition. That will change. Mark my words, that will change. But I think for the time being, that will do very nicely for this episode. So thank you for joining me for this, the first of a brand new series of Computer Tycoon. If you've enjoyed this, do let me know. Give us a like, the old thumbs up. If you're glad to see this back and you want to see more, even better, you can add a comment. Your strategies, your feelings about the game, I'd love to hear from you. Just drop a note into the comments box below. Other than that, of course, if you've not already subscribed to the channel, you could do that. That way, you won't miss out on the next Computer Tycoon video, or indeed any of my uploads for my other Let's Play series. But for now, from me, Ajaxpost, here in Computer Tycoon once again. Until the next time, bye-bye for now.